Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about how to create a LUT specifically for your video so you can reuse over and over again using Photoshop. Let's get to it. So the first things you want to do is you want to make sure that you're using your camera settings and you keep the settings the same, and your lighting obviously is going to have to be the same, especially for something like this where you're vlogging and you want to make sure your skin tones are right. What I usually do is I bring the footage into Photoshop and I take it from there, but make sure that the settings in your camera are a certain way and you're not going to change it. You want to use somewhat of a flat profile. Now I shoot on a Sony a7S II specifically for this. I tend to use a flat picture profile. Specifically I use the PP4, which is set up using black level 0, gamma is ITU 709. The rest is pretty fine. It's set up as S-gamut. You can navigate through most of the Sony cameras or even other cameras. You can find your picture profiles, so that shouldn't be a problem. What's important here is to keep your profile the same when you're going to be using a specific LUT, because after you create the LUT, it's based off how your camera settings were. If you change those settings, like I said, the scenes will change. You want to keep it all pretty consistent. So let's fire up Photoshop. So I've already created some files, but I can just walk and talk you through it. I'm gonna open up the file that I created for it. So basically what you need is you need to work with a file that's the size of your video that you're going to be using. So if it's 1920 by 1080, that's what you should set it up for. Or if it's 4K, obviously you need to set those dimensions that way as well. So what you want to do is you want to bring in and make sure that in your window you have the timeline set up if you're using video just as a placeholder. So if you look down here, there's no video timeline, but if you go back into the window here, click on timeline, you'll be able to view your actual video. So if I turn off all these layers that I've made adjustment to already, there's my video timeline here. Now I can go in through this and basically scrub through and pick a specific scene that I want to use a LUT for or create a LUT for. I'll use this right now for the scene here. So I've created a few adjustment layers already. If you look here, I did adjust some of the levels here, and if I turn that on, you can see also the saturation or the selective color, which I wanted to focus more on the denim jacket, make it a little bit bluer, as you can see, and then started working around dealing with some of the skin tone and again the color balance. And you can see some of the adjustments here that I made, and I can go in and make any of these adjustments. And if you're familiar with Photoshop, you'll be able to do that as well. I went in and made some adjustments in the curves as well. And again, selective color, you focus here for reds, maybe for the skin, and the magenta as well, and some of the blue colors that I made changes to for the denim jacket was all done through here. Once I've applied all the adjustments that I want, what you want to do is you want to turn off the video layer itself. You want to turn off that background layer, and then what you want to do is you want to go into File, and you want to go into Export and Color Lookup Tables. Now you're going to have a few options here, whether to do it medium, high, maximum. I would say leave everything the same here, which is fine. And then I would give it 2 formats, because Premiere handles these formats differently depending on which part of Lumetri you're using, whether you're using Creative, and I'll show you the differences between the two and how you can apply them. So usually I have 3DL checked, Cube and ICC profiles checked as well. I'm going to save that file, and I've already actually saved it in here, so we can skip this step. Save it into a folder that you're going to be importing it to. I'll just resave it anyway. So now we can actually leave Photoshop here, so I can quit that. Let's save it. And again, now if I go into Premiere and open up my project, let's take a look at that. So I've already created an adjustment layer for this particular clip, but if you are not familiar with an adjustment layer, let me just show you how to do that from scratch. So what you want to do is you want to go into your project library here where you have all your assets, and you want to do File, New, and you want to pick Adjustment Layer. Now, obviously it has to match the size that you're working with, and this is the size that I'm working with here. Make sure that all the settings are right for you. Hit OK, and you should see an adjustments layer. This was the old one. You should see an adjustment layer come up here. Drag that onto the top of your timeline in the footage here. And now what we want to do is we want to apply some of those LUTs. Now, we spoke earlier about the 2 different LUTs that it saves out as, and I wanted to show you what happens if you only save one, depending on what you use. So you can use a basic correction, which you can apply a LUT as well here, or you can use creative. I tend to use creative because you can drop down the intensity and you can kind of semi-adjust it. So I like to use this, but you can use basic as well. For this particular creative section here, if you want to browse for your LUT that you just created, you want to go into browse, and there's our LUT here. So for creative, you're going to use the one that's this format here, which is this one there. You want to hit open, and then you want to turn that on here because I had it off, and then you can see the difference here in the color. So if I turn this on and off, you'll see the difference, and the LUT is actually applied. Now, you can adjust this LUT in Photoshop and do it the way that you want to. You can decrease the intensity here in the creative settings as well, and you can still play around with, you know, whatever you want in this section here. So this is basically the setup to create a LUT within Photoshop to use in Premiere. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Please follow, like, and subscribe. I'll be making new content sooner than later, hopefully. So we'll talk soon. So thanks again for watching.